All right, everyone, welcome back. You ready to tackle something we all struggle with?
Always up for a challenge. What are we diving into today?
Oh, just the little thing called procrastination.
Procrastination, everyone's favorite frenemy.
Yeah, exactly. And we've gotten so many great questions and comments from all of you.
Always love hearing from everyone. What kind of stuff are they saying?
You know, the usual tips and tricks, people sharing their struggles.
Yeah,
But I gotta say, it seems like a lot of people are looking for practical strategies to actually, beat this thing.
makes sense. Procrastination is one of those things that everyone knows they shouldn't do.
Right, like we know it's not good for us.
But it's so easy to slip into.
Totally. So we dug into some seriously practical advice, and we're going to do a deep dive today.
All right, let's do it. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty and see if we can't pull out some really helpful tips. Stuff people can actually use.
Absolutely. So one thing that kept coming up in the source material was the power of starting small.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
What's your take on that?
Well, it's more than just a nice saying There's actual science behind it. Like when we take even a tiny step toward a goal, it triggers something pretty cool in our brains, a dopamine release.
Dopamine, huh? So like the feel-good chemical.
Exactly. And dopamine is all about reward and motivation. So even those tiny
The
actions,
ones that feel kind of insignificant.
yes, even those create this positive feedback loop in the brain. And suddenly, we're more inclined to take another step.
Oh, I see. So it's like a chain reaction. You start small, and then you just want to keep going.
You got it. It's like building momentum.
So instead of looking at climbing this whole massive mountain,
You're just focused on finding a good foothold to get started.
that's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And this whole start small thing, it makes me think about another point from the material,
Which is,
embracing imperfection.
oh, that's a huge one. So many of us get totally bogged down by this need to do everything perfectly.
Especially right from the beginning.
Oh, absolutely. And you know what? It's often just a sneaky way to avoid actually starting anything at all.
Oh, tell me about it.
But here's the thing, the really fascinating part. When we allow ourselves to be imperfect,
To be a little messy.
exactly. And, to learn as we go, we actually open the door to progress.
It's like they say, done is better than perfect.
100%.
I've definitely been there.
Yeah.
I remember I wanted to learn how to code.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I was so excited. But then I spent weeks researching the best programming language,
Yeah.
the best online courses.
Oh, no. You fell into the research trap.
I know. I was totally paralyzed.
Analysis paralysis, classic procrastination move.
Then one day, I just snapped out of it. I picked a random coding tutorial. I just dove right in.
Good for you.
It was messy.
Oh, I bet.
I made a ton of mistakes.
Yeah.
But I was actually doing it.
Yeah.
Like actually coding.
That's what matters.
And you know what? It was such a good lesson.
What was the lesson?
Action breeds clarity. Like sometimes you just have to start and figure things out as you go.
So true. It's easier to steer a moving ship. And speaking of action, there's another big idea from the material.
Let me guess. Consistency.
Bingo. It's all about showing up, even if it's just for a little bit each day.
I think for a lot of us, it's so easy to get caught up in needing these big bursts of motivation.
Oh, I know. And those bursts can be great, but they're not reliable.
Motivation comes and goes.
Exactly. And it's not something you can just conjure up on demand, but consistency.
That's something we can control.
Absolutely. And you know what? It all ties back to habit formation. We're creatures of habit, and our brains love automation.
So the more we do something,
The easier it becomes. We start to build neural pathways, and it just gets easier and easier to stick with it.
so even 5 minutes a day dedicated to a goal.
Can make a world of difference over time. It's like compound interest, but for personal growth.
I love that analogy. All right, so let's recap. We start small to get that dopamine flowing. We ditch the perfectionism, and then we just make consistency our superpower.
Simple, but powerful.
And the best part, it's all within our control.
We have the power to choose action over inaction.
So for everyone listening, I want you to think about one tiny step you can take today toward a goal you've been putting off.
Don't overthink it.
Maybe it's finally opening that book, making that phone call, or even just spending 5 minutes brainstorming.
What's that one little action that could get the ball rolling?
And remember, action creates momentum. So who knows where that first small step could lead you. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into procrastination.
Until next time.
Bye, everyone.